Well, it's a gray day at Perdido Pass, and look at the waves. It turns out I got a fascinating photo last week from Tiffany Horton. Her cousin, Deborah Williams, in Coden, captured this interesting picture on Coden Belt Road. It's something I've never seen before, a very unique pattern in the waves. I had to see it for myself, so I stopped by this weekend. Slow down and survey your environment. On a glance, there's nothing unusual here. Or is there? Look eastward across Portersville Bay, and it's just tiny waves. At my feet, you see seashells at the seashore. Coden, Alabama on a quiet summer day, just watching the waves, but look a little more closely. They're coming in from one direction on that side. From the other side, they're coming in from the other direction. Where they meet, they form a perfect grid. Those are called grid waves. Off of Coden Belt Road, it's all about the shape of the land beneath the water. That's called bathymetry. When you look farther out, you might notice what seems to be a sandbar going away from the coast. It's acting like a natural barrier to focus the wave movement. The waves arrive from two different directions in the shallow water at the sandbar. Of course, the waves are generated by wind, so that plays a role too. Stop and look, and you might be amazed. It's simple symmetry. Sometimes you just have to get off the grid. That is Michael. Earlier this afternoon, still a powerful system moving through the mid-Atlantic. At this point, still a tropical storm with winds of 50 miles an hour, about to move into the Atlantic Ocean. Washington, D.C., New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, they're looking at the threat of flooding tonight. So let's go back and sort of look at what caused Michael to be what it was. First of all, the Gulf of Mexico water temperatures, they are a little bit above average, but that's only part of what makes a tropical storm or a hurricane. That was this past weekend. But here's the history going from Saturday to basically today. It formed as a potential tropical cyclone. At that point, there was a lot of wind shear. In other words, it didn't look like it would get stronger. But you'll notice all of these flights, there were about 17 Hurricane Hunter flights into the storm over the course of its life in the Gulf of Mexico. The wind shear eased up, which the computer models didn't catch, and that's why it strengthened to a high Category 4 at landfall and continued its track to the northeast, just about to exit now the east coast of the United States. Now, in its wake, we're still getting more and more damage reports in. These icons represent anything from storm surge to flooding to wind damage to tornadoes, anywhere from the Gulf Coast northward. But there's something interesting. When you look at storm damage reports, you may notice they follow the same pattern as these lights, and these lights show basically where we live. And these are big cities. There's Atlanta, there's Birmingham, you can see the interstates. So typically the reports that we get are along major corridors. Now, where it made landfall, the population a lot lower than it would be, say, in Mobile, New Orleans, and Houston. So when you look at this storm and you look at it in the history, yes, it was the strongest hurricane to strike the U.S. since 1992. However, where it made landfall makes a difference in the actual impact. So look at this example. The hurricane force winds, they were about 90 miles across. For Hurricane Dennis, they were about 80 miles across. For Hurricane Ivan, they were 210 miles across. So even though Ivan was a weaker storm in terms of the wind when it made landfall, it was a much bigger storm. So these are the factors that go into how much damage you get, how much storm surge you get. And you've seen these videos, and I want you to really focus on the homes that are still standing. They're telling you something. They're telling you you can build a home to stand up to 150 mile an hour wind. A lot of the homes that were destroyed, yes, it was storm surge, but many of them were either not up to current building codes or truly was extreme weather. But we can do that. Either way, you've still got to get out of the way when you see or hear that a powerful storm is on the way. And the wind doesn't translate directly to the force of the wind. We had in Mobile during Michael 20 mile an hour winds. But when you double the wind speed, you're quadrupling the force of the wind when the wind pushes on something. So from 20 mile an hour wind in Mobile to the Panhandle with 155 mile an hour winds, that was a force that was 256 times greater than what we had in Mobile. Big difference there. All right, in the Atlantic, you've got Hurricane Leslie. It's a commotion in the ocean, tropical storm Nadine, but there was a little commotion in Grand Bay earlier today. That was a hurricane. We made that hurricane. These are the Breitling Bears, the third graders at Breitling Elementary School. I had a good time talking with them. They taught me some stuff about weather. We did some cool experiments, had some challenges. They know what an anemometer is. And of course, they get the Allen Seals of Approval, the smartest kids I have ever talked to this week. Clouds, New Orleans had clouds, we've got the sun. And we've got the fun. And it's Mardi Gras, and I made a bunch of friends here, a bunch of young ladies from Spanish Fort. You're all friends, right?
Yes.
You're friends with each other, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just checking. So who do we have here?
Laura Ashley. Sarah Grace. McKinley. Carissa. Lindsay.
And who do you want to say hello to?
Hey, Mom. Hey, Mom.
Over there.
Hey, Mom.
All right, so tell me about the day so far. How's it been compared to past Mardi Gras and all that kind of stuff?
Very warm. Yes. Yeah, it's very warm.
Super hot.
All right.
Last year was freezing.
But I don't see you guys with, well, you have a little bag here. What did you get?
Every day, brother.
I only catch the moon pies.
And you ate them, right?
Yes.
And which was the best one?
Chocolate.
Chocolate moon pie? All right. And how about you? What was your big deal for today?
I just got here.
Oh, okay. So you're ready for the next parade, which is going to be starting really shortly.
Good.
Okay, advice for people who might be coming out this evening. You get to give the advice.
Yell loud, because if you yell loud, they're going to throw a bunch of stuff at you.
Okay. A day of active weather, pictures and videos of funnel clouds like this one there. Well, can you tell the difference between a funnel cloud, a waterspout, and a tornado? Look at this video. It comes in from Fort Walton Beach, and in the distance as you look toward the Gulf, you can clearly see a funnel stretching down from the clouds. And as you look at it, you see rotation. And the odds are it's a waterspout. Literally, it's touching the water just offshore. But as it moves right onto the beach, by definition, it goes from being a waterspout to a tornado, and at that point you can see debris. You can see things lifted up. Watch this carefully right there in the middle. Did you see that? I'll show it to you again in slow motion. That's not just debris. It looks like the roof of a beach home. Now consider the winds spinning around that funnel cloud, touching land as a tornado. As they move between those very tall condos, it's like a wind tunnel. The winds have to speed up to get through, and as they speed up, it puts the other smaller buildings more at risk, and that's very likely why what appears to be a roof was lifted off, just like the wing of an airplane. When the wind passes over it, it causes lift. Reporting in the studio, I'm Chief Meteorologist Alan Seals.